Hey everyone, happy Facebook Live. It is Thursday. Got Josh Rugger here, and we're in the weather lab. And we've been watching this system for next week for several days now. Really, honestly, back on January 10th, when we were at 70 degrees, we were saying, you know what? Winter is not over, not in the least. And people were thinking 70s, oh, no more winter, don't have to worry about it.
Yep.
But you could tell the weather pattern was going to change.
Atmospheric river breaking down on the west coast.
Mhm.
One way for that cold air to go and that active pattern to go, and that is east. And here it is.
Here it is.
Yep.
And so what that does when the atmospheric river breaks down, that allows systems to ride up and over the ridge, gather the cold air from Western Canada and the Aleutian Islands, and then those systems drop south. So let's kind of dive into it. There's a lot of uncertainty. I know we're going to get lots of comments about how much snow and how much winter weather will we see. It's Thursday. This system's coming in Tuesday, potentially maybe Monday night, but I think more like Tuesday evening into Wednesday. But let's kind of dive into it and show you what we've got. And so, first of all, we want to look at this system coming in, over the weekend. We got two systems that we mentioned. One is coming in as we move into our Saturday and Saturday afternoon and evening. Here's a quick breakdown of what we got. High pressure is moving in. That's why the wind is a lot lighter. So that's really nice. Now, something interesting that Josh and I looked at that we don't really have a whole lot of time to elaborate on the newscast, but I don't think this system over the weekend with some of the American models is producing enough precipitation.
Mm-hmm.
And you can kind of elaborate a little bit on that, Josh.
Yes, and there's a reason for that too, because now that we're in, that time frame where we get some of those higher resolution models and things become more hyper focused.
Yeah.
So those higher res models can't go out as far north in terms of their sectors. So it can't pick up on stuff that's north of the extent of that model.
Yeah.
So what we're seeing with this weekend system is kind of two separate low pressures, or I guess vortmaxes really, that are going to interact with each other and allow for us to see precipitation on Saturday and Sunday. However, the far northern system is not getting picked up by those high resolution models yet because it's not far enough south.
That's right.
So,
if we were to draw the grid spacing for that model, for the American models, it makes it up into about South Canada. We can display this by looking at some of the models on the websites, and you look at the grid spacing, and they're just more hyper focused over what do you think the NAM is? The North American model.
Uh-huh.
And so there's just sometimes not enough grid spacing, especially for the HRRR, to kind of pick up some of these systems that are a little bit farther north.
And that's why the further out we are from the system, the more uncertainty that there is, because we can't we can see these things on water vapor and we can look out the window.
That's
right, and kind of look at the latest trends in the lower res models that go out a little bit further because they can pick up that much. But the higher resolution models still have things to work out as we get closer to the event. And that's why they tend to not be very accurate this far out.
Another thing, too, is that, two systems merging together can sometimes intensify, but also sometimes it can take away the curvature of the trough, which will in turn weaken the low pressure system. Now, and by the way, someone just mentioned here NFL Productions, which I know who that is. That's my weather kid in Southwest Missouri.
Yeah.
And shout out. But he says this weekend's not the main focus. It's Tuesday next week. Tuesday next week is the big system.
It is.
But we just want to let you know that there is going to be a little bit of precipitation moving in for Saturday into Sunday. There's no pause points on there for some reason. They disappeared. Oh, because I wanted to loop that. But there's the system moving in for Saturday. Now you see that precipitation. It's not a lot, but I don't think it's picking up on that other vorticity max that drops in, which is why some of the other models, such as the Canadian, has a little bit more precipitation. But regardless, you notice how that low moves east. That's when we start seeing more of the northerly winds. Those northerly winds will bring in colder temperatures, and it'll get borderline freezing, and we get maybe a little bit of a light wintry mix. No big deal there. Hey, I did not raise my hand, camera. It's like locked down.
Camera angry.
Boy, oh boy.
Yeah.
So if we look at the precipitation amounts, it's minuscule,
Yeah.
but it's enough where we have to include rain chances in the forecast.
Yes.
So now let's take a look at this system that's diving in for next week. And here it comes with that low that's moving into northwestern United States and the Pacific Northwest. This is the low that's going to cause some issues.
This is big time.
So watch this system drop south. And notice how it rode up and over the ridge. Remember, there's no more atmospheric rivers. So the West Coast isn't getting blasted with these storms. The Pacific Northwest is, but then when it drops down, now it's got some colder air to work with. As that system tracks east, it's pretty intense. There is uncertainty as to how far south or north this track makes it. One of the meteorologists I know, William, he's actually in the weather lab right now, and he's kind of watching this behind the scenes. He's saying that this is going to be all based on dynamic cooling, which is true. The dynamics of this system will have to dynamically cool the column in order to produce a lot of precipitation with this system. But there's a chance that, why can't I drag that and move that? I guess it's not a data set. But the low might be a little bit farther north, or it might be a little bit farther south. Believe it or not, a 30, 40-mile difference will make a huge difference in the forecast. Yeah. So there's that system moving out. Now, the European model, the 12Z, which really didn't show anything a few days ago, is really starting to jump on board for a big weather system. So this is what we've got Tuesday. First of all, the Gulf of Mexico moisture, Roby, is definitely going to be there. Yeah. There's no doubt about that.
Because there was a few concerns earlier in the week about that first system that comes through over the weekend. Maybe
on Saturday.
Yeah, on Saturday.
Sunday.
Diving south and then potentially scouring out the Gulf of Mexico. Not the case.
Yeah, that's not happening. Moves almost straight east. I could show you this too on a vorticity map, which I'll do right now, as a matter of fact. So here's what we've got. Vorticity is basically the amount of spin of a fluid, okay? And that's what the atmosphere is. It's a fluid. So if we look at this, you're going to see, obviously, these colors represent the amount of spin within the atmosphere. I really wish I didn't have to have a pause point there in order to point something out. Really kind of makes it a little bit annoying. But there's the storm system right there. That was the one that came through just a couple of days ago, brought the thunderstorms in the morning. Actually, that was yesterday morning. It's amazing how fast time flies. Yeah. But there's a system that moves through. And yes, there's always the people that think nothing's going to happen, which is definitely a possibility, including my wife. She thinks that, it's 5 days out. A lot can happen. A lot can change. All we're showing you is that the potential is increasing.
I'll say this, no matter what, I think we're going to get precipitation.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it's not snow, it could be heavy rain.
Yeah.
At times. That's a strong system that's moving through our area.
And there's going to be severe weather in the southeastern U.S. So there's a good chance that it doesn't snow as much as what the models are saying right now.
Absolutely.
So let's go back to Ohio. Did have that enhanced risk, by the way. And they definitely had a lot of wind. But that's why. That's the system. So here comes the weekend system. Remember I told you about what's happening to the north, though? You can see this system diving in right at this point. So there it is. That's the system that's coming in from Canada. There's the low that's kind of losing its strength. And so these two systems kind of combat each other. However, this will have a little bit of colder air to work with.
Yep.
That colder air will probably produce and squeeze out a little bit more winter precipitation, which is why those higher res models that don't have the bigger domain, the grid domain, aren't picking up on that system as much. That, folks, is not a favorable track. That's taking it across southwest Missouri, southeast Kansas. If anything, the snow for this system coming in over the weekend is going to be in Kansas City. That's where it is. So in order to have a favorable track for snow, let's look at this one. So remember, that system is not scouring out the moisture. It's not scouring out the Gulf. And then all of a sudden, here comes a rapid return in Gulf moisture. Now, that is an intense system. Notice how it's not competing with other systems. It's all by itself. The models aren't going to be perfect in the amount of precipitation it produces. But all I could say is that if this track comes through, Northwest Arkansas gets snow.
Yes, and it gets
quite a bit.
Pretty impactful system.
Yeah.
I mean, and I was talking to you about this yesterday, Dan, about we don't get a whole lot of significant winter storms here in Northwest Arkansas.
We
and the River
don't,
Valley.
yeah.
You have to have a lot of things come together for it to happen. First of all, the track's got to be favorable. I know William was talking about, the cooling of the column above our, above our heads, above the surface. That sometimes has to happen as well. And if we don't have the cold air in place, it can be a challenge a lot of times. And that might be the challenge with this system, because we may not have
the cold air in place
already.
There's no big high that moves
Yeah.
in from the central plains that
Yeah.
pushes that colder air south. So
Yeah.
that's something that's kind of lacking.
Yeah.
But at the same time, with such a strong system,
It can
that
overcome
can
that.
definitely dynamically
Yes.
cool the atmosphere. I don't think moisture is going to be an issue
Yeah.
from the Gulf of Mexico. I really don't. Also, the track of the low, what we call a Red River Rider, that is your classic heavy snow event for Northwest Arkansas. And the River Valley will get some too. It's just not as much because you don't have the warm conveyor belt with the Norwegian cyclone model, all that stuff, bringing the snow. Instead, that brings more of a wintry mix. So, but then again, this could drop south. It could bring more snow into the River Valley. All these things can change. So there's the system moving through. And by the way, the cold air will be sticking around for a few days after that moves through. But the cold might be not quite in place right away. So let's dive into this. On Tuesday, here's a look at the future track. And Josh said, laugh out loud, just said it. Let's see. Oh, here it is right here. Yep. So far, it takes more of a classic Red River track. Yep. Winter storms like this, heavier snow events. You got it.
Which the ensembles are really.
PDS single. That's hilarious. I saw that.
Potentially dangerous situations. Single.
So here's a look at the future track. And here's the European model. So it's got precipitation starting off as rain. Probably the low-level winds will be very strong at 850, which will bring more of a wintry mix instead of snow at first.
Yes. Don't be surprised if it starts off as sleet.
Yeah.
Predominantly sleet, which tends to happen.
Maybe even a cold rain too.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Predominantly sleet to start off. Yeah. Then we get the cooling. The timing of this too, if the European is correct, this is after sundown. This is when it's a lot colder. And so those obviously could be a factor where you get more snow accumulation because you're not combating the solar insulation from the sun. That's another thing that William pointed out, which is a great point of reference. Now you can see the system sticking around all the way through Wednesday morning with the potential for strong dynamics and lots of precipitation. And then, of course, it does move out. Even though it looks pretty quick, that's enough to bring significant impacts.
That would be a big time system if it took that track for sure.
Next is we're going to look at the GFS. And the GFS, unfortunately, really dropped the ball on the 18Z. Maybe it's right, maybe it's not. We're going to look at trends, by the way.
But the ensembles for the GFS and European continue to show, snow.
Yeah.
And continue to hint at winter weather. Because remember, this is just the deterministic model. As it's just one model run. That's happens every 6 hours.
Yep.
So the ensembles continue to show winter weather up and down the board.
So here's what we're going to do. Yeah. We're going to look at the last model run, not the latest run. We'll look at the 12Z.
Yeah.
And you'll see things drastically change. So here's the 12Z. First of all, it's got that little wraparound, a little bit of precipitation. It squeezes out some light snow. I don't think it lasts that long. But then here comes the system for Tuesday, and now it's got a lot more, and that's got heavy precipitation, and then it continues to show snow, and then finally lifts off to the northeast.
And you can see how much more progressive the GFS is with the system, with the timing. It comes in late Monday night into early Tuesday, whereas European is a lot slower.
Yeah. So these are all things that we have to take into account. The strength of the system, the speed of the system, which will, of course, impact the timing. The amount of moisture, which is definitely in place.
Yep.
And someone's saying about 1 to 2 inches of snow. If I were to say right now what my forecast would be, I would say 2 to 4.
Yeah, I think that's
over really Northwest Arkansas. River Valley might be a little less, around 1 to 2, but with the wraparound at the end. I do think everyone does see winter precipitation with the current information that we have right now. Now, keep in mind, this could easily change.
Yes.
We've got several days before this moves in. But just to show you real quick before we shut this down, and if you guys have any questions, let me know. Ask now. But we're going to look at the ensembles, and we'll also look at model trends too. I want to look at the model trends, and you're going to see how horrific this is. It's absolutely horrific, which basically shows you why has been no consistency and has been no, let's just say, confidence in this forecast. We are confident, though, that it is going to get colder. There's no doubt about that. So stand by here just a second. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the total snow for the ensembles. And so let's go to, this is going to be just for Saturday's system, just to show you that, yeah, there's going to be a little bit of light snow. Now, what you have to do with these is you subtract it by about half.
Yeah, that's the
which means that you've got half inch, half inch, half inch. You don't get anything.
Yeah.
But at least you get some snow.
Yeah.
Now, here's the system Tuesday coming in, and you can see the models. I mean, look at this. This is 50 members of the ensemble showing all precipitation of some sort in the form of winter weather. If we go to the GFS ensemble, before I do that, we want to go back to
12Z.
The 12Z. So here's the 12Z ensemble.
Every single one.
Every single ensemble, because of the strength of this system, has precipitation and has snowfall. And then you can see that increasing from like 8 to 9 to 10 with the control mean. The control is way up there.
But
so
the mean is more realistic.
Yeah, that's a little bit hesitant on that.
Yep.
However, if we go to the GFS ensemble and we look at this total snow, once again, Tuesday, only one member out of 30 members do not have snowfall. So this is what happened with this system that came in, you might remember, last month, right before Christmas. All the ensembles were showing snow. It did snow. Yes, there were amounts that were a lot less. The River Valley barely got anything. It was all because of the track.
Yeah.
That track wasn't favorable. The cold was there. The winter weather precipitation wasn't a very big shield, the precipitation shield. This one has a much better chance of producing more widespread precipitation.
Yeah, it would be a longer period of time where we have that precipitation moving through, which means more time for more accumulation.
Yep. So Josh said we'll have to ask the Magic 8 Ball on the next stream how much snow we'll get. We can do that for sure. I want 10 to 12. Chance of thunder snow with the dynamics. Absolutely.
Yeah.
If that dry punch is right nosing into southwest Arkansas and the River Valley, northwest Arkansas would be under the gun for maybe not thunder snow, but thunder sleet.
Yeah, big time.
So it could be thunder sleet.
Maybe not quite as crazy as what we had in February 2021.
Now here's another thing too. Yeah, we just got to watch this. The ensembles are showing it. Last thing I want to show is we're going to show the trends. Yeah, this is precipitation trends, and in order to do this, you got to go to Pivotal Weather because this is one of the better sites that does this. So we're going to go 132 hours out. Let's go. Let's just do Tuesday night. Okay. Here's Tuesday night. Here's what the deterministic model for the GFS shows. Notice how the system's up there. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to look at a model trend. This basically shows what the model showed with each model run at 6 p.m. Tuesday night. So this was back on the 16th. It has a storm. Yep. How about that? Here's one. It has a system. Nope, no system now anymore. Yep. It's actually way west in the Texas Panhandle. And in a couple of model runs, it's like, wait a minute, we got to put this back east. Whoa. 6Z just totally disappeared everything. The 12Z from yesterday didn't have anything, but the European did.
Yep.
Now look, the low is over Kentucky and Tennessee. And now watch what happens on the latest ones. It's backing it up. It's backing it up. It's backing it up. So the trends are slower and closer to our area.
Which tends to happen with the GFS.
And if we look at the European, we'll go back to the 12Z. because this will give us a little bit more. And this, by the way, is Monday, so we got to go a little bit farther out. Let's go 108. There's Tuesday. We want to go 126. And that's because it's an older run. All right, there we go. 132. So here's the 16th, the night of the 16th. So nothing, but a system.
Yeah.
No, there we go. Now, yesterday, people were seeing it. Now it's showing up, and now it's there.
It's starting
so
to
you
get
see those trends?
Much better trends.
See how the trends are showing up and starting to show up that system? Yeah. So there it is. That is a monster of a system.
This is the best way to look at deterministic models, in my opinion. You can't look at one individual model run.
Nope.
Otherwise, your forecast is going to be all over the place. If you're going to look at deterministic models, you have to look at the trends.
Let's look at the Canadian. We don't give a lot of credit to the Canadian. Let's see what it has. So this is Tuesday night. Slower. Still has precipitation. Look at how that latches on too.
That's pretty consistent.
There's a lot of models that are showing this, and that's why I know some of you are like, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. No systems coming in.
Systems coming.
If you want to put a bet on it, I'd be willing to take you up on it.
Yeah. Systems coming.
We know a system's on the way. But when we go to the ARW or something like that, we only can go out 48 hours. Or if we go to the HRRR, doesn't even come close. The NAM only goes out 84 hours. So you only get to Sunday night. That doesn't help us for Tuesday's system. So there's not as much information for long range forecasting with what's available. So anyways, that about sums it up. This is cool. I've only experienced thunder snow. It's so muffled. The reason it's muffled is because of the cold air. Sound is more difficult to travel through colder air, so that's why that sound is so muffled and low. It's really cool. However, back on that thunder sleet event that we had, there were some bolts that blew me out of the water, man, or blew me out of the ice, I guess.
Out of the ice.
So rare too. It's amazing. One of my weather phenomenons. So this system is extremely dynamic.
Jim Cantori loves it. He
Farmer's Almanac. I don't know what a Farmer's Almanac has. Actually, I could look at it, and I do have it, but I don't have it with me right now.
So the Farmer's Almanac has short range forecast, huh?
It does it each week.
Oh yeah,
it's like a horoscope. With the wraparound and warm air from the Gulf, what's the ice potential? So icing won't be a threat for us, in my opinion. There will be some icing in some spots, but for our area, initially, maybe we'll get a wintry mix and some ice, but I don't think the cold air it's not an ideal setup where you get a real strong high that moves in before ahead of time. William, got anything to add at all, or he's thumbs up? All right. Guess I need to make a run this weekend. I might be able to get on. Well, we'll have to see what happens. So the 12Z Euro showed a ton of snow, almost nothing. Now it's changed. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Long range forecasting. Here's the deal. It's like Plinko. How many of you have ever seen Plinko on The Price is Right?
It's the game you want.
Yep.
It's the one you want. You get chosen.
I don't know, man. I kind of would not want Plinko. The odds of it's fun.
Yeah.
To watch, but for the person, it's not fun at all.
But you get the big money there if you win.
True. You get 10,000, but that's right in the middle, and the odds are not that great. So, with that being said,
that's a good point.
Here's what we've got with forecast Plinko. So we are 7 days out or 5 days out before the event. So 10 days out, we knew a system could potentially be moving in. And so we got all these different paths right there. And your 12 inch is the 10,000 for Plinko. So watch what happens over time. The forecast 10 days out has a lot of solutions. As we get closer to the actual forecast, day 5 could still deviate quite a bit. As we get closer, you're going to have an idea that, okay, I have a pretty good idea that this won't make it all the way into the far left side. There's just no way. Maybe 8, 12 isn't looking quite as likely. 0 is a possibility. So we start narrowing down the possibilities, which is exactly what we're doing with long-range forecasting. One small deviation could make a big difference in the forecast, such as the track, the temperatures, all that stuff.
And that's why we have like a spread when we give snowfall accumulations. We're not saying Fayetteville's got 2 inches, Fort Smith's got 1 inch. We say 1 to 3 inches or 1 to 2 inches. There's always a spread of amounts that you could have in an area, because sometimes you get those snow bands that could enhance the snowfall totals. So,
but as we get closer to the event, the higher res models come in, and we're able to see a little bit more. And so there is the Plinko chip dropping down to either 0 or 4. Still has a range though. But there you go. That is long-range forecasting at its best. That gives you a really good idea of why you don't show snowfall accumulation maps 10 days out. I'm not even showing the accumulation map 5 days out. You don't need to see that. Yeah. For those that know weather, that knows that meteorology, you're looking at the models anyways. So. Yeah. Yep. Just like rain, snow has heavier spots than others. Mesoscale banding. Yep. Absolutely. Also, good possibility of big fat flakes with the temperatures and how much moisture. So the big fat flakes, say that like a few times.
Big fat flakes. Big fat flakes.
There you go. You did it. Yeah. That can lead to less accumulation too, because you get compaction, you get melting. The models don't have that. It's actually the dry snow that will accumulate a lot faster.
Yeah.
But the wet snow is funner because you get to more fun. The wet snow is more fun to build snowmen because it compacts easier and stuff like that. All right, guys. Yeah. That sums it up. We got to get William some practice in front of the weather wall. Tongue twister for sure. Big fat flakes. Big fat flakes. Big fat flakes.
Baja blast. Baja blast.
Oh, that's
freezy.
I can say that a bunch. All right, guys. Well, we will see you later. Josh will have the latest forecast tomorrow. I'm off tomorrow. I did not miss the explanation projected snow timing. We did the timing. That was earlier. Real quick, I'll give you a brief summary. It's going to be mainly Tuesday, probably Tuesday afternoon into the evening. So here's a look at the timing. And I told you about amounts too, but it's going to be the most significant snow we've seen all season.
Absolutely.
It'll definitely beat November's system.
Absolutely. The 3 that we had in November.
Or I don't say definitely. It potentially could be.
It's got the potential. Yeah. That's for sure.
Yeah, always potential.
Excuse me.
The weather can always surprise. The weather can always back down. So, all right, guys, have a great one. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. A beautiful day tomorrow. Light winds and sunshine and highs in the lower to middle 50s. See ya. Bye.